You're in the same boat as me and you got to change out some heater channels. I'm going to show you guys something to do. I've done this before, and these are the Clocker Home ones, and I would do this with any of the heater channels that they have. But the Clocker Home ones, I mean, for sure, I mean, if you got Gerson metal, you would probably be okay. I would just double check his, make sure the nutserts are in there good. But his are probably good. I mean, you're going to spend 3 times as much money. The damn thing's better be good. So here's what I'm gonna say. What I do and what happened to me is the last one I was putting in, of course, these nutserts, and I did everything by hand. I didn't use an air gun or anything like that, and probably that's why. If I did it with an air gun, it probably would have stayed in place. I tried an air gun to get it to work, but it didn't work. These nutserts came loose, and I had a couple of them come loose, you know, so it was like, man, you know, I get done with the whole thing, the car's all on the pan, had to drop a couple sheet metal screws in on brand new heater channels. That was really a drag. So and we've done that before on old heater channels to fix them, and it's actually okay because you're still going into this thin metal regardless of what you're doing. Actually, on the aftermarket ones, it's really thin. On the new ones, it was pretty thick. So, if you get the Clocker Home ones, I drilled a hole in the side of here and then weld through. I tried to weld through and grab the nut, and then I took another bolt, like say, but not with a washer. You don't have to have a washer on there. I just don't want to lose it. And then tap on that with a hammer, and that tells me that the nutserts are not going to fall out while I'm trying to put the heater channel in the car. After I've got the body on the pan and I've got half the bolts in, you know, you get to the last 2 or 3 and all of a sudden, snap, you know, you're not going to take the body off the pan again. I wouldn't. In fact, you'll probably break 2 or 3 more nutserts on this thing. So either you pre-weld them or check them. And let me give you another option. Wolfsburg West sells these nutserts package, I think 10 for $8, which isn't bad right now. I mean, that's today's pricing. Who knows when you're watching this video. Yeah, they have these things. They also have them online if you want to order some. And I ordered some just so I could have them because I use them so much. And they're a little bit cheaper, but not really. It's just convenience more than anything. You get them online. You could actually if you were to knock one of those out, like if you just wanted to go through and just test them first and just hit them with a hammer and see if they break. And if you break a bunch of them off, then you could actually take these nutserts here and put them in and then knock them flush. You know, just, you know, weld them in and then grind it down and knock them down a little bit, make them flush. So then drop them in from this side. You know, you don't want to try and do it from the other side. You're not going to be able to do that. So the other thing is, you notice I've got my holes taped up. One of the things I've found is almost everybody doesn't dip their parts. I mean, many years ago, before they had certified sheet metal, and the insurance companies went out and somebody got in a wreck and some guy didn't do the job right. It wasn't even to do with the sheet metal. It was probably the guy who put it on. They got sued and they said, oh, well, we're not allowing you to use aftermarket sheet metal anymore. So they started doing this thing. You know, this is on regular cars, on Volkswagens. They did this thing and they said, okay, we're going to get a company to certify it, because all the companies were going under because they couldn't sell any aftermarket metal. All the companies certify it, and then can we sell it then? And they said, okay, so they brought it back on the game. So now all your sheet metal, you'll get a lot of them, you'll see the little stamp on it. The guys will ask you, hey, do you want certified metal or non-certified metal? And it's, you know, you just pay for the stamp. So you get that now. So that's how they stayed in business. Otherwise they'd all be gone, which would be a bummer because it's a lot cheaper than dealer metal. And so anyway, the other problem that I've noticed after getting off on a tangent is that the insides of these are not very well painted. There's no paint on there, actually. And because, again, the old parts that I used to get, what the point I was getting to, was the old parts I used to get years ago were dipped, and they would have runs in them and stuff. They actually dipped the parts in the primer instead of spraying them. And you always had to sand it because it had, you know, runs in it and stuff like that. But the thing that I liked about that is that all the back sides and insides of everything had paint on it, so I didn't have to worry about, or had something on it, you know. Primer isn't really, you know, don't use primer for this, because primer does not seal typically, unless it says primer sealer. Then it can, you know, or epoxy primer, that's a sealer. So most primer does not seal. So what I've done is I'm mixing up some oil-based, just regular oil-based paint. You can use Por 15, you can use Rust-Oleum, whatever, but something to protect that surface inside. And what I did is I taped off all the holes so I can just put fat runs in there and try and get it up there as far as I can. And then I'm just going to let it set in the sun for a few days, because it's going to take a long time for that to dry before I put them in the car. So in fact, a month for me, because I'll be gone. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and spray these out. Let's take a look inside. What I did is I've actually made this primer super thin because I want it to run. Okay, and yeah, you know, it would be nice if it was nice and thick all over the bottom, but I'd rather have something than nothing. So and I made my fan into a pinpoint, so turn your fan all the way in and just blow it in there. And just try and don't worry about runs, because that's what you want. But I'm just going to just fill this thing up. I'm just going to burn up. I got about a half a pot of paint. And I'm just going to puddle it. And then I'll just set it on that drop cloth over there. And this will help. Just make some runs, go all the way down, and you can see it's coating even the top. So it'll fill it up pretty good. But, you know, where you get to the second layer inside there, that's when you're going to have some issues. You know, it's going to have trouble getting around that. But I'm just worried about the bottom more than anything. In fact, you can turn your pressure up a little bit more. Just try and get it in there as far as you can. See, it's coming out the holes. It's coming out all over the place. It's going to be a mess. But at least it'll be coated. So anyway, that's it for the heater channel. What you do before you put them in. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.